My name is Nora and I'll be looking after you all today. So to start off, I have some good news and I have some bad news as well. So I'll start with the good news. The good news is that we are, of course, going to be doing a whiskey tasting today. Yeah. The bad news is that you will have to wait until the very end of the tour to do your tasting, but as a reward for your patience, you will get to enjoy a time-honoured tradition here at Bow Street for Bow Street workers. So that was the daily grog, a glass of whiskey given to all the workers at the end of their workday. Or in your case, you'll be getting it at the end of our time together. So you have that to look forward to as well as you're tasting plenty of whiskey this morning, don't worry. Before we get started, where is everybody coming from? What countries? New Zealand, very nice.
Lincoln in England.
England.
Nottingham in England.
Nottingham.
Switzerland.
Connecticut. States, Connecticut. Canada. Slovenia.
Wow.
Any Irish out there? It's so funny, there's never any Irish here like before 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. on like a Saturday or Sunday. I wonder why. But actually no, to be fair, there's a big match on today, so that's probably where they all are, or else still in bed. So guys, believe it or not, everything that you need to know about Jameson is either in the bottle or on the label here. So firstly we have the name Jameson. And John Jameson was, of course, our founder. And below his name here, you'll see the family crest with the motto Sine Metu. So exactly like this right here. This motto is Latin, and it means without fear. And this motto defined John Jameson's life, and it's really defined our whiskies ever since. So while there are many characters in the Jameson story, there is only one founding father. And it all started when John Jameson set up shop here in Smithfield in 1780. Dublin at the time, it was in the midst of a boom and its population was growing dramatically. It was actually the second largest city in Britain and Ireland. And during this period there were well over 100 breweries and distilleries all around the city. However, many of them faded in due course. And although few might have guessed it, Dublin had just gained an institution that would remain on the city's north side more than 2 centuries later. John Jameson's Distillery on Bow Street. So John, that's himself there, and his wife Margaret, they embraced the spirit of Sine Metu and each other. With a little bit of hard work and innovation, their distillery grew, and so did their family. They actually had 16 children. In some time, one of their sons, 16, not 60, some people think I say 16. In some time, one of their sons, John Jameson II, he took over as master distiller, and the distillery continued to grow. He built upon the legacy that his father had entrusted to him with hard work, constant innovation, and unmatched quality. By 1820, the distillery looked pretty much exactly like this, and between 1880 and 1905, it was running on all cylinders, or what we call today pot stills. Did everyone see that copper thing outside the main door coming in? That's a pot still. We'll go into more details about what pot stills actually do a little later on. But while John Jameson's name is on the bottle, the legacy of our whiskies is actually shared. So at the bottom of a Jameson original bottle, to the right and to the left-hand sides, you'll see 2 barrelmen. So these barrelmen, they represent the workers, past and present, who have helped build our whiskey's name from the ground up. And when we get down to it, our story is truly told by the barrelmen. Now, Bow Street was like a city within a city of Dublin. It was a bustling place full of highly trained craftspeople. So self-sufficient was it that our payroll records showed us we had blacksmiths, carpenters, painters, millwrights, and many more. And they all took great pride in their work. John Jameson and Son gained a reputation for being a good employer, and at its peak it employed 300 people. So by the late 1800s we were producing 1 million gallons of whiskey, which is roughly about 6.5 million bottles per year. So I think you will agree that is a lot of whiskey just for the late 1800s. And at this point in time, John Jameson and Son began shipping our whiskies all over the world, to every corner of the globe. And more people were enjoying Jameson's triple distilled, smooth flavour. However, sadly, political and military turmoil intervened. So war broke out around the world, not once, but twice. And there was also conflict within Ireland as well. Due to its prime location, this distillery was used as a fortress during the 1916 Rising. Despite these tough times, Jameson's generosity prevailed. And due to the imposition of martial law, this meant that none of the workers could gain entry to this site for about 2 weeks. However, our payroll records here, they showed us that all the workers were in fact paid their full wages during the shutdown. Just when things were starting to look up again, Jameson's progress was interrupted by strict trade tariffs imposed by Britain and also by the effects of prohibition in the United States. Additionally, American bootleggers began labelling their moonshine as Irish whiskey so that they could charge, I don't blame you guys, don't worry, so that they could charge a little bit more for it. The damage to Jameson's good name and the loss of momentum pretty much seemed irreversible. So much so that by the 1960s, the Irish whiskey industry had essentially hit rock bottom. But our motto, Sine Metu, really held the key to surviving and ultimately to triumphing. The guardians bearing the Jameson name decided that it was time to sink or to swim. And other Irish distillers actually came to the same conclusion. So, in 1966, after centuries of rivalry, Jameson joined forces with John Power and Son and the Cork Distillery Company, so Power's Whiskey and Paddy Whiskey, and they all came together and they formed the Irish Distillers Group, which still exists today. And while the spirit of Jameson lives on here in Dublin, where John Jameson perfected the art of whiskey making, our heart now lives in Middleton in County Cork, where our whiskies are distilled and matured in order to satisfy a growing global demand. Our Middleton distillery is the perfect place to make the highest quality Irish whiskey. And our tradition of hard work and innovation continues. Our whiskey makers down in Cork are always using new techniques, new recipes and new ingredients in order to appeal to the ever-expanding whiskey drinkers of today, just like all of you guys. Jameson has always been a people story. It's about our barrelmen, our whiskey makers and our whiskey masters, who are all dedicated to living up to our 230 years of heritage. So it all comes back to the name and to the story we have on the bottle here. Today we like to express Sine Metu as live a bit more and fear a bit less. And I think that's something that we can all adopt. Great, so guys, whenever you're ready, we're going to head now into our next room, which is our process room. So when you come into this room, you're going to see some tables around the room. So just find a spot around any of the tables. You're pretty much a full group today, so it'll be about 6 or 7 to a table, okay? But less or more than that is fine, just in or around that, okay? So everyone can come out this way.